Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to continue with just 5 questions in multiple choice, okay? But these questions, they're really helpful. The way that we're going to answer them, it's not just me pointing you to the correct answer, okay? It's much more deeper than that. It's much more helpful than that, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to discuss some of these questions. The first question, it talks about the heart. So we're going to cover the heart structure, the structure of the heart and how it functions and everything, so you get so much value from it, okay? And then stick around because we also have some other questions as well. This one, it's on just regular breathing and the properties of air, the air that we breathe and the air that we breathe out, okay? So this one will be particularly useful as well. I'm going to discuss some concepts with you, and the other one is on respiration, so we're going to look at that as well, to say, okay, what will be happening, what are the factors involved, so what are the reactants, what are the products, and how do you test for them sometimes, and all those aspects, okay? We're going to also look at just regular breathing and how adrenaline, which is one of the hormones in the body, one of the, it's called the fight or flight hormone, okay? So we're also going to look at that. And then the last question will be on something which is particularly interesting. It will interest you because there's actually a somewhat poetic feel to it, okay? So without further ado, we're going to go back to our first question. So the first question asks you which blood vessel carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body, okay? So here I have a diagram from Creative Commons, so I'm free to use this, okay? So this diagram is the diagram of the heart, okay? So we're going to discuss some of the intricate aspects, and also just give you a few hints on what you should do in order to actually memorize, and also in order to just know in general how the heart functions. Okay, so one of the first aspects that I always tell people is that always remember that the heart does not produce oxygenated blood of its own. Oxygenated blood is actually produced by the lungs, okay? So it's actually sourced from air through the lungs. So the lungs, those are the organs for oxygen, okay? So why am I telling you this? Just because the lungs, they're very significant in the structure of the heart, and also in understanding these various components like pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein. There's actually a background as to why we say pulmonary. So anything to do with lungs, we say pulmonary. You can think of it as a qualifier. If you tell someone who's a medical doctor, or someone just generally trained in science, you say pulmonary something, then they would know that it's something to do with the lungs, okay? So this is a very good way to actually, like, interpret some of the parts here. So in general, there are 4 chambers. The heart has 4 chambers. There are 2 aspects of the left hand side. There are 2 aspects of the right hand side. So the right hand side is normally put here on the way that you'll be saying it on the left, okay, such that it's actually the right from the perspective of the person who has the heart on, okay? So the right hand side here, it has 2 parts, like this one here that you're seeing. It's called the right atrium. This one is called the right ventricle. So the ventricles, they are the much bigger chambers that you find near the base of the heart, okay? And then the upper chambers that are a bit smaller, they're called the atrium. They're called the atria, both of them, okay? So left atrium and right atrium. So the 4 chambers would be this, and this, okay? So we have these 4 chambers. It's kind of symmetric when you look at it from this perspective of only these 4 parts, okay? So the right hand side, you're supposed to know, or at least you're supposed, the way that I always teach it is the right hand side, you're dealing with deoxygenated blood. And on the left hand side, you're dealing with oxygenated blood. So the way that I would always explain to people is just think of it this way: your heart is on the left hand side, so the left hand side is kind of precious. That's also where you find the left chamber. Okay, so there's left chamber, there's left chambers, there's 2 chambers where you have where it's associated mostly with oxygenated blood. Okay. Sometimes they actually signal using some color codes, but then we're not going to do that right now. But just remember that you're dealing with deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood, and just oxygen in general. It's actually a close call to what? To lungs. Again, we're actually going to go back to what I was telling you. When you hear the word pulmonary, just know that it's something to do with, we're dealing with the lungs. Okay, so pulmonary, it means something to do with the lungs. So the pulmonary veins and the pulmonary vein and the pulmonary artery, they're interesting. So these two, they are very interesting. They're interesting for one reason. The reason they're interesting is whenever we define artery in biology in general, and whenever we define vein in biology in general, okay, we actually referring to very specific characteristics that the pulmonary pairs, the pulmonary pair, these ones, they don't actually live up to. It's actually the opposite there. So whenever you hear the word artery, you're thinking oxygen, right? It's thick, and you're also dealing with high pressure blood in general, and then the vein, it's you have these valves to prevent backflow, just because the pressure in there, it's not very much. So those are the aspects that you associate with the veins. For this two, in terms of the oxygen that these two carry, they're actually the opposite. Okay, so pulmonary artery here, it actually carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so this one carries, let me actually write. Okay, so this is how you're supposed to remember it in general, that the pulmonary artery, it carries deoxygenated blood, and the pulmonary vein, it carries oxygenated blood. But for all the other arteries, it's actually just point blank, just the opposite of what we're talking about right now. Arteries in general, they carry oxygenated blood. But then for this particular artery, this pulmonary artery, which goes to the lungs, it actually carries deoxygenated blood. Okay, so it carries deoxygenated blood from where? From the right hand side here. Okay, so it carries deoxygenated blood. It's pumped through the pulmonary artery. Remember what I told you at the very beginning of this video, that the heart does not produce oxygenated blood. It's just a pump. So the oxygenated blood is sourced somewhere else. It's also the same thing with the deoxygenated blood. The deoxygenated blood actually has to make its way to the right hand side of the heart, this one, so that it gets pumped, and then so that it can get reoxygenated to the lungs. Okay, so these arteries, these are the artery and the vein, the pulmonary vessels. They are so called because they are associated with lungs. Anything to do with lungs, it's pulmonary. Okay, so you have oxygen, you have very low oxygen concentration here, so it's a low oxygen concentration, and then it gets pumped, and then here it's going to lungs. Okay, so it actually goes to lungs here, and then when it goes to lungs, now it actually comes back from lungs through this. Okay, so this is from the lungs. So from the lungs, you are now getting the pulmonary vein. The pulmonary vein, it takes in the oxygenated blood. Okay, so once the oxygenated blood is in here, it actually gets pumped. So the heart pumps, and the reason you want the heart to actually pump is so that it's the blood pressure, it's the pressure that's imparted to the blood, it's sufficient enough for oxygen to actually reach all parts of the body. Okay, that's the reason. So that's why you actually need a pump, especially when you're dealing with the upper body. You actually need to, because you're actually going against gravity. Okay, so here what you do is you'd pump blood to the rest of the body, and then the way that you'd pump blood to the rest of the body, it's through the biggest artery in the human body, and then this biggest artery, it's called the aorta. So this one here is the biggest artery in the human body, this one. So it's big for a reason. So you're pumping a lot of blood there, and it's also pumped at high pressure because you want the blood to actually reach all parts of the body. Okay, so this just in passing, the aorta, when blood gets through the aorta, it actually distributes into a network of arteries. They're called the coronary arteries. Okay, so coronary hasn't something to do with the heart. They actually like are coming from the heart. So you have the coronary arteries getting from then on, such that it's the blood also reaches the upper part, and it also reaches the lower part as well. So these we have discussed like most of the aspects, at least that you're supposed to be able to know for combined science syllabus. So I'm going to cover for the vena cava, and then we actually move over and then answer our question. Okay, so for the vena cava, what I want you to know about the vena cava is that it delivers deoxygenated blood, okay, to the right atrium. So the right atrium here, the vena cava, the purpose is to actually deliver deoxygenated blood. Okay, so the way that it delivers deoxygenated blood is in two. So you have the superior vena cava and you have the inferior vena cava. They serve the same function. The only difference is where they source the blood. So the superior vena cava, they source blood from the upper part. So you'll be dealing with the head and then the upper torso. So you'll be having the superior vena cava. The way that I would remember it is that it's actually like headed right from the top. If you see how it's structured, it's actually headed right from the top. So you're dealing with the head and the upper torso. And then the inferior vena cava, now you're dealing with the lower body. Okay, so the blood is sourced from the lower body. That's the inferior vena cava. So, but then in general, the vena cava, vena cavi, as in plural, what they do is that they deliver deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. Okay, so that's what they do. So essentially, we have covered pretty much everything there is to it, except maybe for these valves. But then these valves, they just for separation, especially these valves here, this one and this one. It's just for separation of the four chambers. We're not going to get into that too much, just because most of the viewers right now, at least right now, they do combine science, and we don't need to crowd their discussions with such aspects. So just try to, if you didn't understand what is going on and all that, sometimes it takes time. So you may actually want to revisit this part and then just try to understand and then interpret on your own and then see if it actually sticks. Okay, so that's it. And now to our question, it says which blood vessel carries blood from the heart to the body. So it's aorta. Okay, so it's aorta. It's the one that carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. So that's it. Let's move to the next part. Next part says the concentration of carbon dioxide in oxygen in inspired air differ from the concentration in expired air differ from the concentration in inspired air. Okay, so which rows correctly show the difference. Okay, so you're dealing with the gas. So you have carbon dioxide gas. You're supposed to know the comparative concentration in expired air. Expired air means the air that you are actually breathing out. So you're taking in air, and then some of the oxygen is taken and used in respiration, and then you breathe out, and then some of that oxygen it's kind of different, the concentration, and then the carbon dioxide is also different. So how do you know? So the carbon dioxide concentration in expired air should be higher. So we are actually going to check this one. Why is it higher? Just because there is some carbon dioxide generated when we as a product due to respiration. Okay, so we're taking in oxygen. It's a trade-off. So you're taking in oxygen, you're burning glucose, but then you're getting water and carbon dioxide. So that carbon dioxide concentration, it's actually higher. And as a task to you, just go and see the average specific values of oxygen and of carbon dioxide in inhaled air and also in exhaled air. Okay, so and then the other part that we should cover is for oxygen. So oxygen should be lower in terms of the expired air. Why? Because expired air, again, as I said, some of the oxygen is used in respiration. So obviously what you're taking out is a bit lower in oxygen but higher in carbon dioxide. Okay, so we're dealing with the case of 1 and 4. So we'd go with this. So let's move to the next part. It says glucose is involved in the reaction in the body shown below. So here, okay, so what are P, Q, R, and R? Okay, so here, this is a reaction in the body. So glucose plus what equal to what? What are these products? So the first thing that you do is to actually recognize and notice that this is just a respiration equation. Okay, so glucose, you would need oxygen, obviously. So here, without even like looking at the other columns, you'd see that the answer is actually C, because that's the only answer with oxygen in it. Okay, so the way that I always advise people is, whenever you can, know your answer before actually looking at the choices, because the choices sometimes it can be misleading, and then you end up choosing the wrong answer. And then if you know that for certain that it's got to be oxygen, then there's no going back. Just take that one without even looking at the other answers, and then you just double check, obviously, because if you know that this is oxygen, then you'd know that our products are actually water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so that's it. Let's move over to the next question. Next question asks us to, it says, what's the effect of adrenaline on the rate of breathing and pulse rate? Okay, so adrenaline, this one, it's a hormone. Okay, so it's a hormone. A hormone is a chemical. There's a specialized chemicals that change our body chemistry in some way. Okay, so they actually are these you have dopamine. It's also a hormone. And they serve like, very specific functions depending on the hormone. Progesterone, estrogen, you might know it from maybe just the reproduction in women, and also just the reproduction in women, and also just their body chemistry. Okay, so this one is called we call it the fight or flight hormone. Okay, so this is the hormone that they'd say it's an emergency hormone in general. So when you're frightened or something, adrenaline, actually you're just filled with adrenaline, so that you may be able to either fight, because the body is perceiving a threat, so you may be able to actually fight, or you may be able to actually just fly away, just run away as far as you can, or something like that. Okay, so that's the adrenaline hormone. So just from the information that I've given you right now, you probably know what's the effect of this hormone on these two. Obviously, the rate of breathing, if I'm very, very frightened, it actually increases. Okay, why? Because I'm generating a lot of oxygen so that I can have the power to actually just fight, or just fly from there. So the rate would increase. Okay, so these ones, they won't fly. And then the pulse rate, obviously, to increase. If my breathing increases, then my pulse rate obviously increases as well. So go with D. Okay, so the last question says the diagram shows the shoots of a tray of seedlings in a box. Okay, so this is a tray of seedlings. Light enters the box as shown. So light is entering through this hole here, and then this box, it's kind of made with the opaque material. So opaque, some say opaque material. Okay, so you have light entering through this hole here, and now you're asked which diagram shows the phototropic response of the shoots after 48 hours. So this one, it's a very important word. Okay, so phototropism, it's actually that quality that certain organisms have, that they can follow the direction of light. Okay, so we particularly talk about this in organisms that we call sessile organisms, these are organisms that are just planted in place. They don't actually move in any significant way. Okay, so fungi usually and plants, those are phototropic. So we call that phototropism. So here, what you're looking for is a reaction or a response, as if these plants, they're actually moving towards the light. So you'd actually be choosing D here. Why? Because you can see that they kind of are nudged in the direction of the light. Okay, so yeah, that's it, and we just finished our 5 questions for today. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you subscribe if you haven't already. You've been supportive, you guys. I just want to appreciate you for it. And I'll catch you tomorrow. We'll continue to just upload as many questions as we can. Thanks so much for the support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Cheers. Yubo out.